Because the universe is everything. And scientists used to believe that like mice would spontaneously appear if you put some rotten wheat and some old rags in a jar, the lid to the jar was loose, then the next morning they'd find mice in there. They'd say, oh, those mice just randomly appeared. Well, of course, later on, they discovered they tighten the jar, no mice appear. Because where do mice come from? They come from baby mice. Where do baby mice come from? They come from mommy and daddy mice. Mice come from mice, right? Everything has a source. Everything comes from something, right? Nothing comes from nothing. So now the universe is everything. That's what the definition is. The universe is everything. How can everything come from nothing? And we have the evidence to back it up. Not the lack of evidence, it's the presence of evidence, right? And now, this theory, the universe has a beginning, is one of the biggest evidences with the Bible. We've been saying this forever, right? It's not just in Genesis 1:1, in Hebrews, right? By faith we understand the universe was formed at God's command. So what is visible was not made out of what is seen, was made out of what is unseen. Okay? Well, not only does the universe have a beginning based on the evidence we have, evidence for God, but that beginning, as scientists started to calculate, right, they like math, I like math, the speed had to be just right. If the universe was expanding and it was going too fast, it would just go out and stay in little tiny particles of dust. And if you had dust, you would have no stars, no planets, no you and me. Had to be just the right speed. If it was too slow, right? If it's too slow, the gravity will pull all the particles back together again and collapse back into nothing. So you would have no universe, or you would have a dead universe. But you wouldn't have a universe where life is possible. All right? Not only did it have to be the exact right speed, again, here's a picture of the universe. Cosmic microwave background radiation. It had to be just the right evenness. You know, last night we were joking with Pastor Nathan. We used to be roommates, and how my Nathan and our other roommate Travis would get mad at me because I'd buy the expensive jam as we were college students, and when I made toast, I put it on. But you know, I'm a little bit fussy, in case you can't tell by my sermons. I like to spread the jam evenly over all the toast. Well, if the universe was too evenly spread, it would just stay as dust, because there's a dust particle here, and there's one here, they equally repel. You have to have it off balance, so this is further apart, this is closer, these two will come together. And then that keeps happening until you form a star, you form a planet, etc. If it was too even, you would have a universe, it would be a dead universe. If it was too uneven, too clumpy, the stars would be too big. If the stars are too big, there's too much gravity pulling on the hydrogen, and the star collapses into a black hole. Do things live in black holes? Nothing that we understand as life lives in black holes. The molecules themselves collapse. The electrons collapse into the nucleus of the molecules, right? The other thing is gravity. Right, so here I have this coin here. Think, oh, well, if gravity is a little bit stronger, the coin falls faster. If gravity is a little bit weaker, like on the moon, the coin falls slower. No, absolute gravity. The gravity between each individual molecule. If gravity was a tiny bit weaker, you would just have dust. Again, a dead universe. A dead, ugly universe. No stars, right? Just dust. If it was stronger, it would collapse back down again into nothing, into a singularity. And it's not just a little bit perfect, it's extremely. Remember the game, the Uno game, right? This was 11 zeros. You called me out at 3 zeros. Gravity, that's one dial of gravity is 60 zeros. Now, different scientists will estimate that a little bit different here or there. It's no problem. But the thing there is that the number's really big, okay? This is Pastor Nathan's guitar. I actually didn't check the tuning on it, but the tuning's pretty good, right? Do you think it just came from the factory way? Like they just put the strings on and just bam, it just came out in tune? No, why not? There's more than one way to tune a guitar, right? There's regular tuning, drop D tuning, there's other alternate tunings. Why don't you believe that? There's too many wrong answers. See, if one dial is off, how's that sounding? What if 2 dials are off? We'll go the other way this time. How you like that? Well, the universe is like a 30-string guitar. I have found a bunch of different variables, in a lot of them from scientists like Stephen Hawking. So atheists will mention the fine-tuning of the universe. The universe has a beginning. That's one point, okay? The universe has a beginning. The other point is the universe has about 30 dials. If they weren't just perfect, the universe would either be dead or would be nothing, or a bunch of black holes, right? There's 30 of them. Now, I've gone around the world preaching this, and I was in Hawaii, and I should have been on the beach. And instead, I was on my porch. I was going to preach the next day at Sabbath this sermon, and I noticed I made a mistake. Us pastors make mistakes sometimes. And I had researched this, for many, many hours, and I had put the list of 30 there, and I had put these 2 variables here, the entropy and distribution mass energy, as 10 to the exponent 123, right? Again, the Uno cards was 11 zeros. That means 10 with 123 zeros. And every 0 is 10 times harder. That's a really big number, by the way. And then I was getting ready, and I looked at my data. I was double-checking my science. I want my science to be accurate. I was like, that's not 10 to the exponent 123. That is 10 to the exponent 10 to the exponent 123. What does it even mean? It's a double-decker exponent. The number's so big, you can't even write it out with one exponent. You go double-decker. And I'm on the porch, and my wife's like, hey, let's go to the beach. I'm like, I got to figure this out. She comes back, hey, it's time for supper. I'm explaining this tomorrow. I did it wrong. I want to do it right. What is this number, and how do you even conceptualize it? I was there for 3 hours. This is what I figured out by the end of it, okay? By the end of it, I figured out how to explain it. If you had a super awesome pen, and you went to every single atom in the entire universe, the universe is very big. The number of atoms is about 80 zeros. Okay, universe really big, atoms really small. If you wrote a 0 on every single atom in the universe, it wouldn't be enough zeros. You'd be 53 zeros off. I'll say that again. If you wrote a 0 on every single atom in the universe, it wouldn't be enough zeros. You can't even write that number down. It's so big. And there isn't one of them. There's 2 of them. So if you don't look at a Uno game and think this is random chance, when you look at the science, how can you say that's random chance? If there is no God, everything is random chance. Are there any skeptics in here today on random chance? I have some serious doubts. I have so many doubts that I Googled how do scientists who don't believe, because I was saying science says this, but no. Which scientists? There's scientists who believe in God, there's scientists who don't believe in God. So I never say science says and the Bible says. I never do that. Which scientists? So I Googled, what do the scientists who don't believe in God say about the fine-tuning of the universe? How do you explain this without God? This is the video I found. This is a world-famous scientist, Professor Michio Kaku from theoretical physics at the City University in New York, specializes in string theory and stuff about the universe. So here he's asked the question about the fine-tuning of the universe. Listen to what he says. And notice he's not joking.
We are special.
We'll restart that. I don't know why it does that. Okay. Be special.
We are special, first of all, because we have conditions for life, DNA, and even consciousness. Our universe really is special. It is fine-tuned. But it is fine-tuned nonetheless. So I think we really are special.
It could be fine-tuned by luck.
We were coming. We are in a universe that makes
It was working good before.
give any corroboration, any confidence, any increased probability to
some sort of a non-physical explanation for the universe?
Well, some may say that maybe a God chose the universe to be where it is, and we are winners of a cosmic jackpot. However, even the Las Vegas bettor wouldn't give you those up. Right, precisely where the jackpot is so small. There's several ways you can look at it. One way to look at it is that
Says string theory as universes.
and perhaps there is a form higher than string theory. I tend to lean this direction, that string theory is not in its final picture, not in its final form. There's another way to explain it, and this is that perhaps universes evolve, that as these universes die, baby universes are created by advanced civilizations.
Did you get that? Okay. So number one, we are special. Come on, TV. Be happy. Okay, so number one, we are special, right? We have DNA. We have, the universe is perfectly tuned for life. Number two, it's not God, right? Number three, it can't be luck. The cosmic jackpot is too impossible. Even Las Vegas wouldn't give you those odds. Instead, it wasn't God, it wasn't luck. Instead, it was a super advanced civilization, aka aliens. It's not God, it was aliens. What's the problem with saying aliens created the universe? Who created the aliens? And here's the catch. You're trying to explain how humans, we're pretty cool. We are nowhere close to creating a universe. So then to explain how advanced we got, you have to have a way more advanced alien by random chance to create a universe where we are. You see how illogical that is? Number two, if there was an alien who was so powerful to create the universe, that alien would be so far above us that the respect and admiration we should have for that vastly superior being, right, we would call that worship, and we could even call that alien by the name of, if an alien made the universe and they're that powerful, we should worship them, and we would call them, but compared to us, they'd be a god or gods, right? Does it make more sense what Hebrews 11:3 said 2,000 years ago, that by faith, now right there in Hebrews 11 it says faith is not blind, it says faith is the evidence of things not seen. And throughout the Bible, God shows us evidence by his miracles, by his resurrection, by changed lives. God's always appealing to evidence. He never asks you to be blind. But he says, by faith we understand the evidence of things not seen, that the universe was formed at God's command, so what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Yes. Okay? All right. So if there is no God, everything is random chance. The universe and life. We talked about the universe now. Any questions? Then I want to talk briefly about life. Any questions about the universe? Fine-tune. So you want to Google it? There's two things we talked about. The universe has a beginning, which is super illogical, that everything comes from nothing for no reason. I am very skeptical. I have a lot of doubt for that. Number two, the universe is perfectly tuned like a guitar. So many zeros, you couldn't write the zeros down on every atom in the universe. I have some serious doubts that that is random chance, based on the evidence. Not on the lack of evidence, but based on the presence of evidence. Okay? Let's talk about life. So one of the simplest living things is a mycoplasma. Now life is kind of like a smartphone, okay? There's the hardware, that's, the physical stuff, the glass, the processor, the memory, etc. The design, and there's the information, okay? There's design and the information of the OS. You need both of them, or this is useless. So you need your core elements, you need your processor, your battery, your screen, or your phone is dead. But if you have everything perfect and no information, your phone is also dead. Life is a little bit like that, okay? Now, first of all, simple life is not a thing. Life is never simple. The simplest bacteria is more complex than New York City. You know, you have a stomach, bacteria have something like a stomach to digest, right? A lysosome. You have skin, bacteria need a skin, right? A semi-permeable membrane. Keep bad things out, let good things in, right? And of course, a bacteria needs to have information. I don't know how to calculate the shape. Like, what are the chances I get this iPhone shape, the hardware, by random chance? I don't know. But I know I'm not mixing up glass and aluminum and silicone and getting this, right? But what's the mathematical chances? I don't know. But for the operating system, that's easy. Computer programs are ones and zeros. So you just count the ones and zeros and note the random chances of getting that operating system. Well, DNA is a little bit different than that, okay? Again, we're not going to look at the chance of the shape, the the information, or sorry, the shape of it. We're looking at the information, okay? Like all books have information, and DNA is like a recipe book, okay? Now, we have a much bigger recipe book. We're going to make this easy and just look at a bacteria with the shortest recipe book. Now, what are the chances, okay? Now, a coin, where's my coin? There's one right answer. How many wrong answers? One, that's right. So, 50-50 chance. I have a dice over here. Now, it lost a little bit of air last night. Let me fill this back up. Okay, this has one right answer. How many wrong answers? How many? 5 wrong answers. So this should be harder than this. Let me see how lucky you guys are. Right here, sir. Number between 1 and 6. 2. Okay. 6. Respectfully. All right. In the back, Christina. Number between 1 and 6. 5. 2. There's your 2. Okay. Respectfully. Number between 1 and 6. 1. Okay. Which is harder, this or this? Okay. Computers are like this, computer software. DNA, which is in every living thing, is not like this. It's not like this. Okay. DNA is, stay, DNA is like this. Okay. With every codon, that's the language of DNA, the 3 base pairs together, there are 20 amino acids they code for and stop, right? So with a sentence, you have a period. DNA has a period to stop. So there's 21 answers. This is a 20-sided dice. So really close to DNA. Okay? I need someone to pick a number between 1 and 20. 18. Okay, let me find that here. 18. So there's one right answer. How many wrong answers? 19. That is not the same thing. I bet you're not going to get this right. 7. Right? Sorry, not the right answer. All right. Let's see over here. Wanda, 1 and 20. Ah, that's the perfect number. 18. Oh. Right? You guys see? This is not the same as this. Not the same as this. Now just look here, okay? You toss a coin one time, chances are 2, then 4, then 8, then 16. Now it gets big, you do it 100 times. But at 4, 16, not a big deal. 4 of these tosses, it goes 21. Times 21 is 400. Not 4, 400. Times 21 is not 8, it's 9,000. Times 21 is not 16, it's 194,000. Okay? This is not computer code. This is a recipe book. This and this are not the same thing. Now here's the thing. Scientists took the simplest bacteria, mycoplasma, and they cut the DNA out until the bacteria died. It's like taking the recipe book and it's like 200 pages. You start ripping pages out until you get it down to about a 109-page recipe book. And all the recipes have to work, right? All 473 recipes, 473 genes have to work or the bacteria dies. It's not stable. It like mutates and but it eats food and makes babies. right? But it's not a stable life form, but it does survive, so it is living. That's the minimum, okay? Now, the issue is this. That is like you having a computer password, not 6 digits. Let me see, who's techie? In the back. Can't say your name. It sounds like Kristen. How many letters long is your password? 10. That's a pretty good password, okay? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For life to exist, it's like a password this long. You say, well, there's more than one right password. There's more than one living thing, right? Yes, there's more than one Gmail account. There's 3 billion Gmail accounts. So you should be able to just guess, because there's 3 billion right answers for Gmail, right? Why can't you guess a Gmail account? Because 3 billion right answers is nothing compared to the wrong answers. And that's why your Gmail, if you have a 10-digit or 12-digit password, it's secure. Okay? So this is like a recipe. And here's the thing. Again, it's random chance. So skeptics will say, well, if you take DNA, okay, it's like a recipe book or a game of Scrabble. I have Scrabble here. Don't fall. Be good, okay? Like taking these letters, well, it'll line up. You know what? But it's random chance. You can't organize it. So random chance looks like this. Oh, sorry about that. Now, the thing is, you have to just pick them up randomly, okay? Not organize them, and just start to line them up right here. I need you guys to hold that letter. Again, I didn't organize them. I didn't shuffle them. I'm just putting them out. ZLMIY. That's what you get by random chance, right? So DNA will line up, but the information won't line up. The information is random. Line up all these letters does not give you a recipe, right? It doesn't give you a recipe ever because there's too many wrong answers. I also checked into that with the letters, right? At 2 letters, there's 26 possible answers, and there's 2 words. Right? At 1 letter, sorry. At 2 letters, there's 600 spellings, 100 correct words. So you have a 60% chance of getting it right. There's 100 right answers, 500 wrong answers. But again, with the recipe, it has to be the right word in the right order. Okay? If we have more time, we would make pancakes by random chance. With the right ingredients, flour, 1 cup. Then we randomly pull the measurement out of a cup and pull the ingredient out of a cup. So then you have 1 teaspoon of flour. Pancakes are dead. Okay? But just to get any word, you get 60% right chance. There's 1,000 at 3 letters, 16,000 wrong answers. At 4 letters, there's 4,000 right answers, 400,000 wrong answers. Keeps getting worse. At 6 letters, it's 308 million non-words. And again, you don't just need the words, you need the right words in the right order. You guys following me? Are there any skeptics here today? If there is no God, everything is random chance. So I said, well, what is that number, right? Because it's 21 times 21, not 4 times, 174,000 times. You have to throw this dice 174,000 times and have a working recipe. 1 critical flaw, your recipe is dead, okay? 1 critical flaw. So I Googled it, said undefined. Fail. Google. Source of information. Do your job. I went to an exponent calculator. Too large to calculate. This is what you get paid to do. Went to another exponent calculator. Infinity. It's not infinity, right? It's this 174,000 times. That's a number. What is the number? I finally found it. It took me a couple hours on a website called Wolfram Alpha. The number is 10 with 230,000 zeros. Now, is it possible, right? Because people say, well, isn't billions of years enough for random chance? I'll give you those billions of years. Let's do billions of years. The number of possible chemical reactions on what the standard time frame for the Earth is. So give them millions of years, okay? The fossil record, there's dinosaurs and fossils all the way down. It's just at the very bottom layers there isn't life. But there's life all the way down the fossil record, except for the very bottom. So the standard, they say 100 million years Earth was around without life, and then randomly life appeared. Isn't that a lot? And they fill the ocean. So if you fill the entire ocean with DNA, what's the possible for the chemicals to recombine. How many dice rolls do you get? You fill the entire ocean with DNA, maximum rate of chemical reactions, you get 50 zeros. Okay? If you fill the entire universe with DNA, right, the maximum number of chemical reactions in the entire universe, and give people the 14 billion years. 14 billion years is nothing compared to this. The number of possible reactions in the entire universe is 100 zeros. If you fill all the empty space with DNA, right? Because most of space is space. Like between us and the sun, it's all space. It's all empty, right? Mainly empty. So if you fill all that empty space with DNA, of course, the gravity will collapse into a black hole. But pretend it doesn't collapse. The maximum is 137 zeros. Possible chemical reactions at the maximum rate, which it's never at the max. Things are never perfect. 137 zeros. The chance for one bacteria, just the DNA, is not 100 zeros. It's not 1,000 zeros. It's 230,000 zeros. That's based on evidence we do have. We know what DNA is. We know a lot about how it works. And the evidence we have says you can't do this 174,000 times and get it right. Even if you fill the entire universe brim to brim with DNA, you only, it's still a big number, get 137 zeros. And simply, the simplest bacteria is 230,000 zeros. Remember you talked about your parents? There's a scientist. Everyone's like, oh, a scientist must be skeptical. Well, he was. This is Cy Gartay. Right there, he was third-generation atheist. Means his dad was an atheist, his grandpa was an atheist, his great-grandpa was an atheist. So he would most likely be a, right? And of course, you know, he's a scientist. So he's this atheist scientist, but he's in biochemistry. He started looking at the chance of the simplest life form coming by accident. He looked at the recipe book, and he said, there is no way. Anyone who says they're close to solving it isn't in biochemistry, or they don't know what they're talking about. It was the science that made him doubt his doubts and eventually led him to Christianity, right? About 2,500 years ago, King David said, I praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, King David was inspired. He was an inspired prophet. He was out in nature all the time, and he just saw the beauty of everything. He had no clue, compared to what we know now, how fearfully and wonderfully you are made. The more I learn about science and how complex life is, trees talk to each other. You know trees make rain? In the Amazon forest, trees manipulate the weather. If it's too dry, trees release these little tiny particles into the air to make more rain. They talk to each other through this, like an internet of trees. Trees talk to each other through the root system. It's crazy. Right? And that's like the big thing. The more I learn about science, the more complex I realize everything is, the more beautiful it is, the more improbable it is, and the more doubt I have that God doesn't exist. Based not on what I don't understand, based on what I do understand. As I've done research over the years, what I have found is there are about 5 main things that scientists or people with PhDs, etc., start to believe in God who don't believe in God. These are the main things get the smartest people on earth to believe in God. Number 1, the universe has a beginning. Number 2, the universe is fine-tuned for life. Those are 2 different things. Number 3, the impossibility of getting life from non-life. So we talked about this morning. Again, very briefly, the life one, this is its own sermon, but I didn't want to miss it with you guys. Went over it shortly. Number 4 is evidence for Jesus, based on the New Testament. I can easily do 3 sermons on that. We're only going to do 1. So we're going to get part of the evidence for Jesus. We'll do that during the sermon time. Number 5 is the need for right and wrong. And the other thing that I would add to this is when I look at the best reasons to not believe in God, they fall apart when you look at them deeper. Just like the parents. You only believe what your parents taught you. Most people do. That means nothing. Big Bang created the universe. No, literally, the term Big Bang came about saying this idea is wrong. The Big Bang is wrong because the Big Bang is like the first page of Genesis. Right? And most of the things I look into fall apart when you actually examine them and dig down to the bottom. They're like empty promises. They sound really good. Forgive my explanation here. I'm a youth pastor, but what I explain it as, it's like a poop burger. Beautiful bread sounds smart. You only believe what your parents taught you. It sounds smart. When you bite into it, the middle is hollow and empty, and it destroys itself. How can a good God exist when evil exists? That's going to destroy itself. When you look at the logic of it, we're going to look into the whole history of that argument. It comes from Greek philosophy, and we show how that argument cannot exist. It's a self-defeating argument. And most reasons people don't believe in God, they haven't done their research. They have an emotional decision, and they use excuses that don't add up and don't line up with the science, the history, and the logic. Okay? And up next, we're going to have Jesus versus Santa Claus. Okay? This is one I was scared to research. I'll be honest with you. I was like, do I want to open this can of worms? What did I find out Jesus is a legend? Right? So don't be scared. We're going to go over that for our sermon. Any questions about this morning's message? Yes?
You brought up about this Hoyle. Was it Dr. Hoyle?
Yes.
That you said
Fred Hoyle.
didn't believe in the Big Bang Theory, and yes, Fred Hoyle. But you said that he was trying to disprove it with theology. What is it that he offered?
Well, theology, that's his explanation. It's wrong because it sounds like the Bible. He didn't use science there. He said the Big Bang is wrong because as we look through telescopes, we find this, this, and this. Or we measure with these instruments. The Big Bang is wrong because we measure it over here. He didn't measure anything. He said it's wrong because it sounds like the Bible. Which, like, that... No, he tried. He spent his career, one of the things he researched was carbon formation inside of stars. And ironically, his life work, the science that he did where, you did experiments and calculated things out, and his life work actually ended up supporting the Big Bang. Right? And so again, I do not have all the answers, so I share just some questions I have, some mysteries that I don't understand about God or whatever, but this isn't one of them. Right? And, again, it's don't be scared of your questions, but do your own homework. Like, I used to have a question about the Bible where God hardened Pharaoh's heart. I struggle with that. Like, how can God harden Pharaoh's heart and then hit him with the plagues? That's not fair. And it was like in the back of my head for years. Don't be lazy. I went and looked up the story of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh hardened his own heart several times. Then God hardened his heart after that. So it's a little bit like, I wish it didn't say that, but it didn't start that way. Pharaoh hardened his own heart several times. Then the Bible says God hardened his heart. So a lot of my questions, most of my questions, when I've, bring up my big boy pants, do the homework, I found most of my questions have what I find very satisfying answers, like the Big Bang, creation of the universe, creation of life, fine-tuning of the universe. And I don't find a good explanation on the other side. There is no good explanation for life. There's no good explanation for the universe. Another thing, there's a multiverse. Right? There's infinity of universes out there. Well, where did those universes come from? All the other ones are dead. We're just on the lucky one. We won the lottery. You can believe that, but that's a lot of cards lining up. And then which is easier to believe? There's an infinity of universes out there for no reason and no cause, or there's God. Or there's an alien who made a universe, who made an alien that made a universe that made an alien that made a universe that made an alien that made a... You want to follow that? You can. But is that really a better explanation than there's one God who made the universe? Because no matter where you go, it's improbable. People say, well, who made God? Well, God didn't make anybody. Or God was never made. He was infinite. You say, that's hard to understand. But then you go back to it. If there is something so smart to make the universe, they're way smarter than us. I was at Pastor Nathan's place last night. We had some dogs, and one of them's very smart, very dumb. Let's take his smarter dog. Is his smarter dog smarter than Pastor Nathan? No. So when that dog says, there's a squirrel, I want to run across the street, and Nathan doesn't let that dog run across the street, does the dog understand why? Does the dog understand Pastor Nathan? No. The dog does not understand Pastor Nathan. Pastor Nathan will let him chase the squirrel, because Pastor Nathan is smarter than the dog. So if Nathan is smarter than the dog, by definition, the dog can see evidence Nathan exists, can see evidence Nathan loves him, But by definition, he will find Nathan confusing. If God exists, who made the universe, made life, is he smarter than humans? Yes. Okay? If he's smarter than you, will you be able to understand him? No. And a lot of people say, well, it doesn't make sense to me, so I don't believe in God. If God exists, by definition, he won't make sense to you. Because if he exists, he's smarter than you. You follow me? And I've seen that a lot. If God exists, God is smarter than you. If he's smarter than you, you will find him confusing. Finding God confusing is not evidence against God. It's evidence for God. See that? All right, any other questions? All right, let's take a break here. 10:30 is a good time to stop, right? We start the divine service at 10:45, right?